All right, so welcome everybody. Bobby Radke is joining me today. We don't have an agenda, but Bobby is in the flow, and let's just go with it and see where we go. So,
Yeah.
so you were just talking about the shows, so we can start there, and then let's
Just what
see. Yeah,
what have you noticed? I mean, it sounds to me that you've really paid attention to the series and the movies out there. That's everything's in plain sight. Is it seem to
yeah.
be ramping up more now, or is it always been like that? Like if you go back at every movie, would you say that things are speeding up?
It's always had to be that way because the the lessons have always been the same. Right? We're always on the same trajectory of discovering truth, repenting back to the Father. We come here to refine our spirituality in general, right?
Yeah.
And I mean that literally. We're refining everything material into spiritual. We're dissolving matter.
Yeah, no, I've been watching your work, and I've been following it, and actually got so much demonstration from the teachings. That's why it's remarkable as I see even the time I started following you since 2017 to now, how
Yeah.
much I've grown from within. And you're just like, wow, this is all playing out now. It's like you can't make this up. You just
Yeah.
can't make it up. I just yeah, I just find I wanted to get a perspective. This is something I had in my mind, was about the ending. You know how we have all the movies and everybody's telling you that the end times. What is your take on the end times? Was it, if God has the mercy and God has mercy on his children, we have God creates them, sustains them, and then eliminates them. This is from, I think, Shani Murdy had a whole talk on this. I thought this makes complete sense to me. Is that where we're in this elimination period?
Well, that's a good way of looking at it. Eliminating ignorance. And what are ignorance? It's in the thought. Anything that shows up as a person, condition, or circumstance in your thought is ignorance, because you've just separated yourself from the allness of God.
That's right. Okay.
So yes, it's dissolve.
Yes.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
Dismiss them because it's not about them. You see?
Yeah. No, that's right. It's
Yeah.
just trying to live in a world with some new understanding and perspective, when those of you, your family members, the people that you've loved your whole life, cannot embrace or aren't willing to embrace, let's say, is another thing I think a lot of us are all going through. That from a spiritual perspective, as the person going through it, we see it completely different, or I have been seeing it completely different.
Yes.
What do we say to the family members and that don't really understand this journey?
Well, the only thing that you really should look at is our thoughts about our family members.
Okay.
You see, so what I would say, for instance, an example would be my mom had such excruciating pain in her body over the past few months that she was unable to work and really having a very, very hard time. And so in that process, I changed my thought about my mom. And I thought, well, you can't be demonstrating this pain because, first of all, there's no person there and there is no pain. There's only God manifest. And so once you remove the person and the pain from your thought, you have separated the carnal mind from what you call the idea of your family. And therefore, when you expose the carnal mind for its lying, deceptive nature, then that's when it loses all of its power over the reality. And so what happened then is my mom is now better and she's now back to work and she doesn't have the pain.
Okay, so that's something I think I want to practice, because I'm finding that you're in every circumstance, in every environment. You're like, I mean, I tend to be like, when you're on your own, you can do things more and you're thinking to yourself and it's easier. But now you're in front of your family member or your friend, and you want to stop for a minute and almost go back to the conditioning of my mind, I guess. That's what I have to do. That's what I feel like I haven't done enough of, but I have to really work on that.
Well,
It's
here's the
difficult.
idea.
Like,
Yes,
That part,
you're
like in spite of your family, my kid.
well, you're like what I call spiritual special forces because you get it. Like you demonstrate, you've done the knowledge, you're in the journey like I am. Okay.
Mhm.
What I just taught you is the next level. This is where I'm now reflecting in my journey. Think of it this way, Bobby. If a person, circumstance, or condition came into your thought, you are asleep in the dream.
Okay, say that
So,
again.
okay, if a person,
Yeah.
condition, or circumstance came into your thought, you are now asleep in the dream. You're in the matrix.
Okay.
You
Okay.
saw a mom
Yeah.
there and you saw a family member and you did you?
Mm-hmm.
You're
Mm-hmm. Okay.
asleep.
Yeah.
You see,
Mm-hmm.
remove that from thought.
Mm-hmm. So how, because
And
I've noticed, I found myself like to get through a lot of these process and understand the true
mhm,
complexity of it all is I put myself in a video game. And that's
that's a
how
good idea.
and I would do
Simulation.
that a lot. And I would sort of like, okay, well, I know this isn't real, especially with the physical elements. I thought was a lot
Yep.
easier.
Mhm.
So far, anyways, that's what I've noticed. But yeah, not when it came to like when they're standing right in front of me, where I've noticed you talk and even you hear different. I haven't really followed too many, but some of the different spiritual leaders that will they'll just know exactly. Doesn't matter what's happening in front of them, they'll know exactly to say the opposite because they'll know that's illusion, that's fake.
Yes, that's right.
That's what it's almost like you're saying. It's like we have to be able to know right
Yeah.
away what is this that I'm looking at right now because this isn't real. Like this
Yeah,
is not really here. I've
that's
created
right.
this. This is my hologram, I guess I call it,
Yeah.
and my movie. Yeah,
Now
I
apply
don't.
that
It's
to
interesting.
yourself. Okay, look at the screen right now. Do you see yourself there?
Yeah.
That's not you. You
Well,
don't see
okay,
yourself
that's
there.
true. No, I see my reflection. Ever see my
The
reflection of God?
that's right. The
Yes.
observer that is seeing the experience, the
Okay.
experiencer and the
Yeah.
experiencing, that observer is you. And that observer that is at completely at rest, okay, is you. Imperturbable, immutable, without an ounce of error in it. And so now you qualify everything from that place and add it to that. So therefore, since that observer is you, the only thing you can behold is the perfection of that observer reflecting back, because that's the only reality there is.
That's right.
And then you've
Wow.
just removed all of the ignorance of the carnal mind altogether. Time, space, and illusion is all nothing.
So if you did that in every moment, in every second, or say
Mhm.
every minute, in every
That's right.
moment, then we
Yep.
would literally, couldn't you technically watch things just change?
Yes. Well, Richard Dawkins talks about it in terms of letting go constantly in every moment, like letting everything go as it shows up. See,
Mm,
once you remove the judgment of good and evil, the tree,
yeah.
remember you ate of the
Yep.
garden of the fruit? Once you remove the judgment of good and evil, you have separated yourself from that dream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
that's what I did when I had that last night. I had bulimia when I was 20 years old, 22 years old. 5 years I struggled with that illness. And as soon as I observed it with a pure mind, with no attachment, it was no longer good or evil. I just
Mm-hmm.
observed it as the pure awareness. That was the last time it ever came back.
I know it's amazing. When you can really grasp it through the carnal mind, it
Mhm.
kind of starts with the conceptual understanding.
Yep.
And then you have to, like what I've noticed, even with, and it's something you've really, honed on a lot and told, kept saying, it's just repeat and repeat. And that's the only reason I think, and to write it down. And so the
Mhm.
more I was writing it down, I was like, I would contemplate 2 words, 3 words, and then that it would like you could to the point where I don't know if everybody would feel the same way when they stepped into a different level of consciousness, but usually I could feel the wave coming on when I knew I was getting close. And then with that one, I started to do sets on a more of a
Yeah.
regular basis because I was kind of lazy with that one, but I was doing them on a regular basis, and I was like, I would literally, if I was to, witnessing myself, my carnal, I could see myself going up like this, all of a sudden just rising up. And I was like, okay, this is unreal.
Yes.
So I think through the energy field, I was picking
That's
up
right.
on.
Nobody wants
Yeah.
to do sets. I get it. You know, the thing is because it's counterintuitive to the carnal mind. Because the carnal mind thinks it's going to get something in life. It's always trying to pursue its own desires and through aversions and attachments. That's the good and evil. See, we're attached to certain things and we try to run away from certain things, right? Evil, terror, and all these things. So that creates reasoning, which is the dielectric poles, and that's agitation that comes out of rest. We want to be back at rest because resting is receiving, and that's when we attain our own that comes onto us. And from that position, we give to the world. Okay. So when you set, you set into joy, peace, love, kindness, joy, whatever it is, that's a seed. The seed that you plant becomes the harvest you gain. That's an immutable law. You're the seed. That's the secret of
it's like
the
your
wealth.
being. Yeah.
That's
you
it.
become your being the.
You're the wealth.
Yeah. Okay. So you become the joy, you become the peace. That's what
Yep.
or whatever you choose. I mean, hopefully if you're hoping to, the majority of your days, you're living in all of the fruits, would you say, if you were constantly in that?
Yeah.
If you're in I guess the 0 point, right? If you're living
That's
through
right.
love.
Yep, that's right. And gratitude is the best way to kind of practice the sum total of all those fruits.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord. Remember every Daniel in the lion's den, and you got Saul and Paul going into prison. What did he do? He praises God, and then the ground begins to shake and the doors open. Well, that's gratitude. And so when the world of form illusion is coming at you, what that is it's the carnal mind appearing before you, tempting you. Separate the person, place, and condition from what you observe, and all you'll see is that there is nothing but divine love there. And as you behold divine love, then you are now reflecting what is real, and then the illusion is no longer.
It's very true. I can see how that is working. I even wanted to, how are you finding it right now moving forward in just understanding, or not even understanding because you're living it, but with this knowledge, and one thing I'm concerned with is, okay, because I can practice and try to every day get better at this, right? But everybody, it's like, okay, should I move? Should I do this? And I already know that all of that's all me now, right?
Yeah.
So now I want to know. I'm trying to kind of hone in, okay, because I'm in a place where, like, believe me, I'm just like tempted. Like, I'd love to be like, should I just go? Like, but then I've defeated this whole game of life, haven't I? If I was to move at this point, that's where I'm kind of wondered.
Yeah.
Because then I'm literally just taking my consciousness with me, but I'm not playing to the strengths that I think God has tried to instill into me or try to show me right now at this time of my life, maybe.
Yeah, and I have that for you today. That's why we're here. So I'm super excited. I have put together a new oracle deck of 78 of the keys, like the best wisdom I've discovered in the last 2 years, because the previous deck I made was the 2 years prior to that. Now I have a whole new level. Okay, so what we do with that is God gave me this interface to use so that we can use flow state, and we can use those and put them in front of us, and we can see the truth. Because once you see the truth takes care of all of the arrangement and all of the dealings in the outer when you rest in that position of truth. The word is God. So when you have the word in your heart, it begins to demonstrate through the outer the power of God.
So unless I'm seeing the demonstration, or we're seeing the demonstration, are we're knowing to even to do more, or to praise more, or to gratitude, like
turn away from evil.
Yeah.
But don't push against it. Turn away from it in your thought.
But you still have to know it's there. Is that what you mean? Like we.
Oh, we're gonna have fun.
I understand. Okay, so it's not there. Do you know what I'm saying? Guys, I know it's not there.
Yeah.
But okay, but I don't want to say but because it's really there's no buts. You know what I'm
We're gonna
saying?
have a lot. We're gonna have a lot of fun because I'm gonna take you through this new process. Okay. Now, here's what's so cool, Bobby, and I wanted you to be the person that helps me introduce this because this is like my legacy to the world. Like it started with trust. Trust is the culmination of what was the best of my knowledge. This is going to be the next level of how I deploy knowledge so anybody can take it and apply it to their life from their own level of knowing, put the truth right in front of them that they need to see, and they'll be able to just blast right through the illusion because the truth will be right there, right in front of them. So you're asking that. How do I put the truth in front of me that I need to see to have this answer?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I want to know that. Okay, because I can usually ask. I'll go, okay, I'll find out. Okay, God, tell me what I should be doing, and I'm getting usually pretty good answers. And
Yes.
I feel like I'm getting good downloads.
And you have that constant connection to God is never severed from you, no matter what.
Yeah. Okay.
You can always turn within to God and you can be in the still place, be still and know that I'm God, and God will always communicate to you.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I definitely have been feeling that love, and
That's right.
it's just that it sounds good because I heard you had just, you were talking about you were maybe considering some new downloads of knowledge.
Yeah, I'm putting it into a phone app. So it'll be for iOS and Android. So you'll be able to use it right on your phone. And when you're in a little situation, you can say, okay, now this is similar to the Gospel of the Lots of Mary. So it's one of these old forbidden gospels where they were using transference and using oracles. And you see, this is not a sorcery thing. It's not a voodoo doll thing, right? This is knowing. If you know what's on every one of those cards, which you do, because you are the one mind, because there is no person here, there's only God. God knows all. So God can put that information right into reflection of self. And that's what you're going to do is you're going to reflect that knowledge through using this process. And then you'll see the truth right through the illusion. And then you hold on to that truth and it just destroys the illusion. Because the illusion never existed anyway. That's the whole point.
Yeah, because it's like, why would we, if I was looking at myself as a video game, which I to try to kind of sometimes get my kernel mind to take it all in, how would we, there has to be a way then. So I'm thinking if we didn't have that, that reference of knowledge to kind of put myself in going, well, there's got to be a way, got to be a different way out. Like, what's the next level then? What's the next way?
Yep. I'm going to take you there right now. We're going to do it right now. And not only am I just going to show you, but you're going to do it and you're going to actually go right through the process.
Oh my gosh.
So,
okay.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
I am too,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is really good.
Before you do this too, I wanted to tell you, I always got the best understandings of comprehension when you would do your little sketches. Well, I started going, why don't I start doing that? So I sat there the other day. I'm not going to really show you right now, but just I started doing my own little
nice
people. And I thought it's coming to me easier. And I go, now I wonder if that's how you did it, because I go, because my whole knowledge came from mental health, right? So I was like, okay, mental health, stick figure, and I went, anyway, it's a long story. Well, but it comes from your teachings.
It's very, very smart. See, you do as I do, and then you'll be able to have the same comprehension that I use. Because basically, if you're retracing my steps, then you're going to tap into that same knowledge.
Yeah, that's what I think I probably did. Sometimes you'd come on a video and I'd go, okay, I just said that to somebody about an hour ago, and then you'd say it or something else. It was very interesting through these last several years. Just sometimes I message you or Sabrina, but I mean, it blew my mind. Like just sometimes how you can see how consciousness is really, well, it's all one, and and that. I think even just a whole, I remember the very first one was about the coughing, just even that concept. If someone can understand the concept of a cough, or sorry, not a cough, but a yawn.
That's right.
How it spreads. Away. Yeah.
Well, that's how the so-called thing spreads too.
That's yeah.
Same thing as a yawn. If I sit here and go, oh, all of a sudden everybody in the room's like, oh, there it is. I caught it. I caught the thing.
So true.
Because everything is thought. There is no physical. You're spiritualizing it back into thought when you do it consciously. So we're going to take it conscious now. So here's the sequence God showed me. So that the place of rest, okay, is Nag Hammadi Library. I'll source everything so you can all trace this all back to the gospel so people can see this. But if you go to the gospel of truth, Jesus rests to receive, okay? If you look at the the Vedas, that spirit curves within itself and expresses itself to itself as spirit, mind, and matter. And so we have in the gospel of truth as well, is that everything is agitation that comes out of rest. All of the phenomenon in the phenomenal world is agitation coming out of rest. So now the rest is also the number for one. Okay, so 1 and 0 is the number for God. 1 is principle. 0 implies nothing. Okay, nothingness is all implied under 0. And what we have here is in Walter Russell's work, we have a new concept of the universe. If you can think of the twin dielectric, okay, this right here, these are the forces that come out of rest, and they create what we call the phenomenal world. So the 0 point is rest, and out of that is this expulsion of energy, which is centrifugal loss of power, radiant entropy and decay, all these things. It's loss of inertia, loss of power. So what you see with your human eye, your natural man, is witnessing nothing, because it's all the 0, which is the shadow. It's the rarefaction of the ether, which is 1. So you have principle, and then you have rarefaction. Rarefaction is illusion. So the entire phenomenal world is illusion. It doesn't exist. All right. So the sequence here, if you can see underneath here, I do have these card spaces, and I'll draw it again for you. But what happens is when you leave your position of rest, okay? Now, the best way to describe rest in human attitude is I'm absolutely not concerned, because I know wonderful things are happening because God is all in all. So that would imply you're at rest, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
I say that a lot, yeah.
We come through this position over here. Plus is our attachments in life. We get attached to certain things. And then we have aversions, okay? That's how human reasoning spawns off from the place of rest. I dislike the media. They really offend me, right? This is an aversion. I'm attached to speaking out against the truth. Like, we come up with all these reasons why we think we should act based on seeing people, circumstances, and conditions. And that's our proof that we're in a dream. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's the beginning of this knowledge. Now, what we have to do is we have to take this knowledge, and now let's utilize it. Okay. These are the 4 elements down here. Okay. The highest level of teaching you have these people that go around and they have these little symbols they use, and you have this G right here. You ever seen that before?
Yes, I do.
That G stands for, it stands for Genesis. Genesis 1 is the man that God created in the garden. There's only one man. You know that as your living imagination. That's what I told you, to become observant, that you're the observer, not what you see in the reflection of the carnal mind. See, with the hat and the Adidas and all that, and you see this hat, this is the carnal mind seeing what the carnal mind sees. But in the Bible, it says God is no respecter of persons. Respect means to observe. God does not observe persons, because God is not a person. And if God is all in all, then there are no persons. And all qualities and attributes belong to God. So we can't say this person's good and this person's bad. Now, can we? Because we just gave them qualities and attributes, and we've made a false God. We've given power to something that God never created.
That's right.
See, this will all hit you in the morning when you think about it. Now, here you have the fire, you have the wind, you have the water, and you have the earth. Okay, Jesus died on the cross, right? The man of the flesh died on the cross. Well, we know that when you're dead, it's RIP. It means to rest in peace, right? Well, there you go. It's in plain sight. You need to rest in a position of peace in order to be the recipient with humility of what God is doling out. So down here is when you're agitated and you're thinking through the reasoning capacity, trying to solve problems through your carnal mind. And you are therefore dead because you're living in a carnal fiction. The carnal mind itself is observing its own fallacy, and you're trying to think through that position. So what we do is we ascend out of this. Okay, so over here we have aversions and attachments. These are cards too. And then up here we have the risen Christ, which is the fifth element, which is the Aether, the ether. So what we have to do is we have to rise out of the dream as an equal to Christ. And then we are elevated in thought, and that elevation of consciousness is the transmuting power that brings about the demonstration of what we call healing, prosperity, the multiplying of the loaves and fishes. The all-sufficiency is in this right here, rising out of this dream, okay?
Yep.
Now, what we're going to do is in a 3 to 4 second window, before we have a human thought, which comes from the carnal mind, we're going to know that because of reflection, we reflect the all-knowing mind, and therefore we know the answers. And I'm going to have you give me numbers from your knowing. I'm going to populate these, and then we're going to use wisdom at each step, and I'm going to show you how to get on this train, okay?
All right.
So first of all, I'm going to take you into the position of where you begin from the carnal spot. So you have this issue you talked about moving, right?
Yeah.
So in one quick sentence, tell me what the trouble is. What, if you had to state the trouble in a sentence, what would you say?
Well, the trouble would be, I don't think I would have enough money to go anyways. So the thought was there, but I always knew that God would find a way, right?
Yeah, let's leave it at that. That's short and sweet.
Okay.
Okay, now I want you to also give me 3 emotions that are with that thought.
Or
sadness. Okay, sadness. Okay.
I don't know, sadness, just feeling, I would just be sad just leaving family,
Okay,
let's say.
sad's the thing.
Yeah.
Let's go with sadness.
Yeah.
We only need that. Okay, so
Okay.
the idea here is that out of the heart come the issues of life. All right. Now we already know that you are in the dream because you told me that family is involved and that, you have this thought that I don't think I would have enough money to go. Whenever you also have thought, you are also in the dream. Okay. So here's the idea. Just, can you observe that this right here, just like you observed yourself in the camera there? Can you just observe this as a thought and then observe that as an emotion? Okay, now just put your attention on it with no judgment whatsoever. See it as a mental state. See this as an emotional state. And now see this down here as pure awareness. And now just shift your attention to pure awareness. Okay, so now from pure awareness, give me a number between 1 and 78.
7.
Give me another one.
16.
Give me another one.
54.
Okay, give me another one.
33.
Give me another one.
43.
Okay, give me another one.
57.
And one more.
17.
Ooh, 17. That was the one I gave myself, Bobby. So
oh, wow.
That's going to be good. All right. So now you gave me that from a position of knowing. Would you agree you didn't think about that? You just shoot it out there?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
So I got you ready for that because I took you out of your mental state into the pure awareness where you know all things, and then I extracted that data from you. Yeah. So that's all you have to do this. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is show you how this works. You remember when Abraham Hicks talked about how you're up this Ferris wheel? And if you say, this is the position of you thinking I have enough money, I'm so excited, I'm where I'm living where I want, is spinning at a high vibration. And then here's you over here with the thought, I don't have enough money to go. This, you can't get on here. It'll shoot you right off. It's spinning too high. It's oscillating too fast. See that?
Yeah.
So this here is how you slow down and ramp up. So the earth is the grounding truth that will bring you onto the speeding up process. The water is the fine wine demonstration in the gospel. We turn the thought into fine wine. The fire is what is the chastening and burning away of the haystack to find the needle. So the fire is a very, very important piece. You will use the fire card every time you need to burn away any ignorance that shows up, okay? And then the wind over here is the spirit. This is your card to move the spirit. Out of that, we'll look at your aversions and attachments. And then you will look at the one card, which is the Aether. And this is you at rest as the spiritual reflection of the perfect solution that comes from God. Okay.
Okay.
So
Sounds good.
what I'm going to do is, see, instead of just giving you that, I'm going to ramp you up to speed, remove your aversions and attachments so that you're completely at rest in a position of peace, dead to the world and alive in spirit. And then I'm going to reveal to you what spirit wants to tell you so that you don't have this problem in your existence ever again. See that? Because it never existed anyway. So first thing is, let's look at number 7. So I'm going to scale you up together. And if you have any aha moment, just take a minute to write it down, okay?
Yep.
So number 7, this is your grounding card. Prayer is the site of what never changes and cannot be corruptible instead of the human sense perception that it can. Nothing never becomes something, no matter how compelling the argument seems to a mortal consciousness. Prayer is the gateway to immortality. So did anything jump out at you there on that grounding card?
Just the immortality part.
Okay.
That you have to be grounded in immortality.
So hold on to that.
Okay.
So now let's scale it up. Now we're going to go to this is what you're going to turn into the fine wine. Okay. This card says rest to receive, be at peace, content in the comprehension that God is the destination back of every true good desire. Every act of human will towards pleasure always stirs from pain. Therefore, it leads you to more. Did you get anything out of that?
I'd have to listen to that one again. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it one more time, real
Okay.
fast. Rest to receive, be at peace, content in the comprehension that God is the destination back of every true good desire. Every act of human will towards pleasure always stirs from pain. Therefore, it leads you to more.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, there is no pain. It's only if I believe there's pain, I guess.
Yep. Okay, so now here comes the number 33. This is what's going to burn away the haystack and give you clarity. All right. God is beyond human thought, and his kingdom is wholly separate from the material dream. You find God in the absence of seeking for self-preservation by declaring that he alone is, and therefore nothing else will suffice.
It's trusting. You have to trust God.
There you go. So now 54. Okay, this is going to move into the spirit now. Since God created all living substance and he declared that it was good, you've already been judged. That judgment stands firm forever.
I'm already judged. I'm a reflection of God. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So now your aversions and attachments. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to quickly discover what those are just so you see them. So all you're going to do is just answer this question as I read it to you. I fear that I will lack for what comes to mind.
Money.
Okay. If I resist the urge to.
Not do what I'm supposed to do.
That's right. So thereby, I guarantee that I will cause now lack of money due to the underlying concern I have about thinking about what I'm supposed to do. See?
Mm-hmm.
Because your solutions in the carnal mind create the problem. They're one and the same. So by taking thought for your life, you actually create the problem. That's why Jesus said, don't take thought for your life, because you've just negated God. See that?
Yep.
So that is what we're doing. Okay. So now let's look at the cards that just release you from the desire for those aversions and attachments. So 43 says, all suffering is ignorance of the Father, meaning a perception of God's absence. God doesn't dissolve problems. There are no problems.
Yeah.
Okay, and then for the attachment, we have 57. Seek ye first the kingdom and its righteousness, and all things will be added. Your prosperity cannot be governed by human will, nor by self-preservation, lest you squander your wealth.
That's weird because that's something like that came up today too.
And you gave yourself these cards. You've never seen these cards before.
No.
And they're showing up exactly in the place where they need to. So now number 17, this is the one. Now you're ready for this truth. Now this is the truth that you're going to hold on to. And you're going to stay with this until your demonstration comes. And it should come rather promptly. If you trade in human pursuit of desire for divine realization of his all-in-all sufficiency, you have demonstrated a rich consciousness of supply that will never run dry. His grace alone satisfies. So that is your, and I'll type these up for you and I'll send them to you.
Thank you. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So when you use this, remember, it's the word alone that is providing. There's nothing for Bobby to do because there is no Bobby. His grace alone is the prosperity. Our recognition that there is no absence of him is the key. You see that?
The key. Yeah.
And so that is how we use this. And see, that was pretty simple, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I really like that. That was like I like your other one, the ones I had a couple of years ago. I used to do them.
Yep.
No, I tried them, and really enjoyed them. But so yeah, it's great when you can do it really quick and kind of find out where you're at. This is excellent.
Yeah, and everything was done very precisely. So what'll happen is I will have the app take you right through the whole process, and then you can save it, and then you can retrieve this information and refer to it. See?
That's good. That's a great idea. Yeah. Instead of having your little cheat sheets in your purse, I tend to have those.
And so what you do
that's really good.
Yeah, essentially, if you recognize that, let's say card number 17 is what is the one thing that you need is, you see, these are your eyes right here. You take your eyes off of the illusion and put it completely on that idea. That idea is true no matter what your lying and deceitful five human senses are reporting. And as you rest in peace, dead to the world of illusion and alive in spirit of this consciousness right here, you have supplanted ignorance in your thought for wisdom. And by removing people, circumstances, and conditions from your thought and putting this wholeheartedly in your thought, you have extracted the carnal mind from your awareness, and therefore it has no place to hide anymore in plain sight.
So really, this is similar to what Jesus was talking about, right? When people would just be near his presence or correcting a conversation. That's and right. And the person can, because you did not see anything from the carnal mind. Wow, that's profound.
When you really apply this, you're going to wonder, wait a minute, this actually just worked. What I just do? And then you go back and watch this video again. This is God-given. This is like God. This is from sitting for hours, yielding with no will of my own, just saying, show me, I know nothing.
Mhm.
This is God. Like, and it's not because I'm telling you to use it. You know exactly what to do. And you'll demonstrate the word. It's God's power that does all things because God has all power.
He does.
And so we just got to correct the one thing we were given. The only thing that we were given was free will to choose this day whom we shall serve. Okay. Are we going to serve a bad master of ignorance, or are we going to serve wisdom? You see?
Yeah. I'm serving wisdom. I chose wisdom. I chose
You
wisdom a
did.
while ago now.
You sure
I
did.
No, wisdom chose me.
That's exactly right. Wisdom chose you to hop on here tonight too. I was like,
Wisdom did.
Bobby's
Wisdom
gonna
did.
get on here. I know Bobby wants to get on here. So
This is
Yeah.
great. Well, thank you for doing that. Yeah, and this is, I think everyone's gonna love this one. This is
yeah.
it's very profound.
So I want to
I'm gonna have
see
to
the
read that
I want
over.
to see the feedback after you hold on to this for a little bit. And I'll give you an example of how I did it. Okay. So
Yeah.
this is really exciting. So when you seek first the kingdom and all these things are added on you, you'll realize that, Bitcoin's not your supply, your job's
Mhm.
not your supply, your paper dollars and your gold are not your supply, your friends and your network and your social media buttons and all this, they're not anything important either. When you really realize that your consciousness of God as all in all is the supply and the kingdom, all of this stuff does come onto you. And then you get to have all that other stuff if you want it, and you're not attached to it whatsoever. And it can never be taken because it's coming from consciousness now. So you're not a lottery winner that gets jackpotted and bankrupted at the same time because they said, look, here's all this stuff for you, and you can't hold it because you have no consciousness of supply. But if you have consciousness of supply, they can't keep it from you. You can demonstrate prosperity in the middle of a desert. You could fly in, water drop down. You'd have everything you need within minutes because it never left, and you recognize that. See?
Yeah, it's coming to that place of understanding that we're coming from our healing, coming from our blessing already.
That's
It's
right.
coming full circle again. So
Yeah.
I think it's good because it gives you different ways of looking at it, coming to the same conclusion.
Yeah, exactly.
And just now really working it in the world we're living in, or what we perceive that we're living in, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
And see,
because I mean, if you're saying that, okay, just for an example, I don't really perceive that there's that thing out there. I don't want to perceive that. I don't want to perceive that, that there's these evil people, right? So you got to take, this is where I was like, you don't want to perceive it. Now, can we change that too? Can we?
What you do is you remove the qualities, okay, from the phenomenon. Same thing I did, and this took me forever to discover, but this is how it works, okay? And when you look at what actually Mary Baker Eddy did and these other mystics have done that have discovered this, you will discover when she said that the fear and the belief are the two things that cause illness.
Mm-hmm.
Now she undid it all. Is
Yeah.
she removed the qualities from the phenomenon. See, if you think that people can be good or bad, then you have just eaten the forbidden fruit and you're dreaming.
I've been working on that. Yeah. So I've stopped myself. I noticed that, trying to grasp that, or not grasp it, just not perceiving it like that anymore.
Yeah. By reflection, there can only be the qualities of God, and everything unlike God doesn't exist. And so we can only see the good that God is. Jesus said, nothing about me is good. It's the good in God that you see in me. See, if you think you saw good in a person, you saw nothing but God, because you're only seeing what is coming through that vessel. And anything unlike God doesn't exist. It's nothing. Because God is all. God can't be all and yet at the same time be unlike God. That's a dream. That means that we've made judgments. We have eaten from the tree of good and evil, and we're seeing our own wickedness in our own dream. Out of the heart come the issues of life.
Absolutely. It's just really, sticking with the conditioning of the mind, really, right now, just really sticking with it.
Yeah.
And really, that's what I really enjoyed when you mentioned, just really just more about the training of the mind. Something I've really worked on.
Yeah.
Probably not other things I probably now will continue to try, but
Yeah.
definitely with the mind for sure.
So the last piece that I'll give you is, this is just a verbal part of it, but I'm going to read that number 17 to you again, because that was your card. So if this were true, Bobby, if this were true, that if you trade in human pursuit of desire for divine realization of his all in all sufficiency, you have demonstrated a rich consciousness of supply that will never run dry. His grace alone satisfies. If that were true, so instead of, what you said before, your attachment of whatever about the money, right? If this statement were true, what would you be doing from that position?
What would
What
I
would you
be
do?
doing for that? Well, I'd want to shout the knowledge to the rooftops, I guess. Um,
And what else?
and I would want to just teach or share with others that this world is not about suffering, and just
Yep.
teach, um,
And
and just really have everywhere you went, every environment, everywhere just would be just full of love.
so that is what you're supposed to do. See, there's your answer of what do I do? Okay, so do that now. And then your demonstration will come from that space. See, live from the root of wisdom, as if wisdom is the principle, because it certainly
Wow, I
is.
just got a little emotional there.
Yeah, it's time for you to teach and to put it out there and to come from love and fill the place with love and step into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's exciting.
It's very, it almost is like, it's been, is it
Yeah.
reflection because my thoughts have been always, just give me my answers. Is this my answer? This is my answer.
Mhm.
Because I'm constantly doing that. I mean, we all,
Yep.
yeah,
You,
wow.
it's ironic because the same realization you just had is what I had when I started my teaching in my ministry. I said, I'm going to teach this because guess what? That's the only way to keep it. You must live and breathe and pursue wisdom. It's a relationship,
Yeah, that one really struck me. I mean,
Yeah.
because I found that's how I felt. But when the analogy of a relationship with wisdom, and that's what I felt, that I've just allowed myself that permission to have that relationship without anything else, nobody else that I didn't need. I didn't feel I needed right now, and that really was, it was very profound, because that really helped.
Mhm.
And that's what I feel, and I'm feeling content about it. I feel at peace with it. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
that it's like, I'm okay. Thank you, God, for bringing me here for right. That's what I need to do, right?
Oh yeah. God is like working. We can't even understand. I mean, from
Mm-mm.
wisdom does what it does, and we just have to be the receptacles for it. If you had asked me 3 years ago what I'd be doing today, I would never have known. Never. I mean, and I'm
Yeah.
glad I didn't. Yeah.
No, I know. I'm glad too, because I think, I mean, your teaching does wonders for so many. I mean, I can just speak for myself, and I'm grateful, and I'll always be grateful for it. Just very humbled, really, with the knowledge, and just really hope that's what I really wish. I just always said I wanted to do that. I think I remember when I first met you at one point, oh yeah, I want to do this, but it was almost as if I still needed more wisdom, and I didn't go into the teaching aspect. And so now I feel I've been pushed, nudged,
That's how you
so
get more as you give it. See, just like everything else.
yeah.
And you're just like me, like the knowledge humbles me because, when you recognize that, wow, the best I got is me yielding to this truth, then you recognize the reality of life. Like I am the reflection of this divine principle, and it's my choice. If I want it, it's there. You
I
see?
don't think after you get, I don't see there would be anything else that you'd want.
Nope. It's the
I mean,
allness of everything.
that's where I am. Sometimes, you get you, you're still in this, right? You still see everything. And I'm like, wow, I'm just, how do you live? It's almost like you can't even imagine. Well, you can
Yes.
probably, but
Well, you
uh,
can too. We've
yeah,
both
yeah,
had glimpses of it.
yeah, glimpse, yeah.
And then it gets more and more as we yield more to it. And I've had days of it on end, and I've had minutes at times when I'm getting agitated. And then I realize when I get agitated,
Hmm.
that's because I'm in a dream.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, stop, yield, turn to God. That's the sufficiency for all things. And what does God know? I don't care what Matthew David thought a minute ago. That's a carnal mind. I want to know what God's knowing, because God's all. You see?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. It's pretty phenomenal. It's, I don't know. Then you start thinking, okay, what else are you trying to show everyone? What else are you want to show us? Like, God, come on, show us.
Yeah. See, there,
The
that's,
realization of there's got to be more than after that,
yep,
I'm sure there
that's
is,
right.
but
Yeah.
I'll wait
And
for that to
always
come
know
too.
that wisdom seems foolish to the carnal mind until the carnal mind is completely removed. And then all that's left is the wisdom to reflect upon. So when I get like one of these keys, I worked through this the other day on something. It's important just to be still and turn away from any idea that there is a problem or a thought about a problem or a person involved or anything, whatever, anything. Just leave your judgments out of it completely
Mhm.
and just seek to know, what is this wisdom revealing to me right now? And then all of a sudden you'll find, first the peace will come upon you, everything will be light, and you'll
Mhm.
say, it'll correct, and you'll be like, this is incredible. So yes, healing will happen, there'll be prosperity will show up,
Yeah.
whatever's needed, because it never left. It was our thought that strayed away from what the principle was.
Do you think, I'm just curious on your take on this. Like, do you think that this understanding, is there a reason why most, like, obviously we know the why the majority of the population was never been taught this, okay? But
Mhm.
do you think that more and more people did, if they did know it, like, not only would our world change quite quickly, and do you think it's possible to, as I think believe
Not,
anything's possible, right? So,
yeah, you know, those are some of the complexities that I don't think God has fully revealed to me yet. I know that wisdom chooses those that are called by God. It's not something we do, it's wisdom.
yeah.
And it beckons us to come more and more to the light. For those that are not of the light, if there is such a thing, because it is a dream,
Hmm.
I call them NPCs, non-player characters. So I don't worry about their soul, because for all of my knowledge, they may not even be there, because God is all there is. So I kind of think to myself, maybe I don't know all those answers to that yet, but I know wisdom is the secret. So
Yeah,
I'll just keep holding on to
that's
the
true.
wisdom, you know?
Just wisdom will find you.
Yeah,
Found
exactly.
us. It found
One
us.
day I'm
It
sure
found
we'll
me to
know.
you, found me to this wisdom, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's unreal.
So
Thank you.
share some of the, before we go, share some of the victories that you've had, from turning into this wisdom, and what is
Yep.
wisdom? What has it done for you?
Well, I think originally it started with depression and PTSD, and it's taught me that in my from everything I've discovered, it's all came from my mind, and I actually used this wisdom, and I was healed. I believe God gave me grace through the teachings, because I realized, so I really, depression, PTSD, I had cluster headaches that I've used this divine knowledge, right? Where I do not have to take anything. I've never had to take any type of pharmaceuticals. I don't even really take supplements, to be honest. It's quite interesting, that whole story, because I found your story when God showed you from your supplement store. I found there's a parallel because I was going through where I never did either. So God showed me right away, you don't need any of it,
Yeah.
actually. And then I thought, so yes, okay, going back. So headaches, cluster headaches, mainly, what else was it? Oh, my tooth. I had tooth pain. I've healed a lot of physical ailments with myself and realizing that it was just all thoughts. And I got rid of all of them. So it
That's
was just,
awesome.
and I still like just anything comes up. Oh, I got sick or whatever. I didn't take anything. I just used the wisdom. And I go over to my book of my the one that you suggested years ago, which is the Mary Baker Eddy
Yep.
Health and Science. And I just kind of just look at her and just realize what the truth is. And
Yep.
yeah, it's sometimes it's people, my friends believe me because they see me and my family does, my son. But I haven't taken anything, in like almost 5 years now for any type of a headache, a Tylenol, or, and I don't say that out to brag. I'm just saying it because I truly believe it's all God's doing, right? It's nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And had I not have learned these teachings and understood or went to books or wanted to seek that wisdom, I wouldn't have believed it either, right?
Yeah.
Until I demonstrated it to myself. And I do believe that even with what people are seeing now, I think you'd be fine with that, which I'm sure too, right? That's just my opinion on
And
it.
from your level of comprehension, that's the thing, is that the world needs what you have. So stepping into your place with putting it out there and saying, hey, I'm going to show up and I'll coach you. Yeah, I'll help you.
Yeah.
It's so much more effective than this mental stuff that most people do, this good and evil tennis match that they keep playing because they're not getting anywhere.
I know. I even found myself doing a lot of that, because we, mentioned it as well, there's a lot of, you got the truth and you got this truthers, you got, all these different, and it still has to come down to
Yep.
the individual person, right? That they have to come to their own inner wisdom to
That's
realize
right.
that I mean, so then I switched my direction too a few times, going, oh, okay, I don't know which way should I come in at this now, right? But I definitely think with doing the little characters, or sort of doing it in terms of reaching children. Even I have a son, I have a teenager, and I thought, they need this knowledge,
Yeah.
because had we had learned stuff like this and found God at this type of level when we were a baby, where would our population be, right? Where would our world be? Yeah, so I look forward to doing maybe some of those, putting it out there.
And what's really
Definitely
cool
share
is
them.
now here's something that you can also utilize as well. And the reason why I created this interface that'll be on the app is, let's say somebody comes along and they say, I've got this really complex issue and I just don't know what to do. And you can say, well, here, if you did know what to do, if you were the reflection of the one mind, one power, one activity, which I believe you are, just give me a number, give me another one, just put them in there, right? And you don't have to explain anything to them. You correct your thought as they show up, kind of like Ho'oponopono, right?
Right. That's right.
You
Okay.
correct your thoughts until you no longer see a person and you no longer see a condition, and there is no good and evil in that interplay. Once you're clear, then nothing else can show up but the perfected version of that person.
So not only would they be cured or healed, it's because
they just show up in their true self without any problem, because the problem only had one place to find its position of rest, in thought. And there's only one mind, and there's only one principle. And so as we turn to that one mind, one principle and correct, that's how people create healings for others when they have their demonstrations. You see what's real.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was wondering if that was the next phase you were going to be taking in your wisdom. I was curious to see if that's where he would, God would take in you, right?
It's an interface to use. So it gives
Okay.
you a way to just to use the one mind and put it right in front of you so you can correct your thought.
Right away.
And you can still
Helpful.
turn to
Yeah.
God, and there can be more, but this is a good place to start. It's a really healthy place to start ramping up your thought to get to that. Because once you ramp up your thought high enough, the demonstration is right there. Once your thought is there, the demonstration is right there.
I think it makes sense. Yeah. I think the
Yeah.
app is, what a great idea, just to have it in your palm of your hands like that, right? Because that's where you need it, right? When you're out and about and just something just comes to you.
Well, you got to be able to do it
I mean,
somewhere without having to have a library in front of you and all this other stuff and on the go,
yeah.
What if you're on an airplane and somebody has the flu or something, right? And you're like, you know what? I think we'll just deal with that right now and deal with it in your own thought.
Exactly. No, that's really good.
Yeah.
I like that. Especially like I said, the app, like, wow. I mean, because I used to, if I showed how many books and stuff I wrote down, it's crazy because that's the only way that you can actually retain it.
Yeah.
So I have many, many books of just, sometimes I would just transcribe,
Yeah.
some of the teachings until I got it, till I could get the demonstration from it.
There you go.
So this
And
is pretty
see,
much the same thing, right? Except now it's in
yeah,
the palm of my hand, right? So
yeah, you mean you can use this as a way to basically cherry pick wisdom from this space, right? That I've put together in this interface. It's not limiting you whatsoever with your ability to grasp wisdom and apply it to. But
yeah,
for you, that's a little more advanced than I'd say most, because you've been at this for a few years now. What if somebody comes along and they really don't have a lot of prayer time and meditation to let this really sink in? The reason why I created this is for them to see, you know what, I don't have a library. This is all new to
yeah,
me.
I see.
What am I supposed to do
Yeah.
here? Like, I can show you something. And if you sit with this
Yeah,
wisdom,
I can see.
yeah,
I actually understand what you're saying there, because I did find I sat
yeah,
with the thought of wondering, like, why if most mystics and teachers and masters that have been, they always teach from meditation, and he always made you wonder, well, then you hear some of them which it makes sense to me, because that's how I feel like I had to do it in most cases. But let's say, like, majority of people can't even shut their brain off for like 5 seconds, it seems. So what can we give them? What can help them? What can
yeah,
help, even just a starting point, like,
yeah,
to get them to go to that next level, which is to me, this makes complete sense, because for that
yeah.
too.
And what you could do, this is how it'd be so simple, Bobby, is somebody comes along and they don't know any of this, right? This is the answer to your question, full circle. God has an answer. What do I do with my family members? Okay, so here's what we do. You could show them the app and say, well, listen, just pick the numbers and just plug it in and just tell me what the card says. Just tell me what the card says. And then you meditate on that. Don't worry about them. Leave person out of it, because
Okay.
you're
Yeah,
you're
that's right.
dealing with your thought. And when you've reached a high enough degree, then all you will see is the perfected state of that. See?
Wow. Yeah, I would definitely do that. Try that for sure.
Yeah, it worked for my mom. It was incredible because
Mm.
I just asked her if we could just pray and talk about it. And
Mhm.
and now you could say, well, how do I know that that's what did it? I don't know that, but I do know the truth
Yeah.
is the only power in the universe. So there was nothing else there but truth the whole time. So as I observe the truth and hold the thought high enough, well, it makes reasoning from my understanding that the truth is going to be made known, because I've become to know the truth now. You see?
And you've demonstrated that quite a bit then. I mean, in different things within your own life, but just demonstrating it within the people around you.
Oh yeah. Everywhere I go, the whole city here, I've prayed over the whole city, and now we don't do the masks and all this other stuff. I mean, very few people do that stuff around here.
Yeah,
so,
I'm working quite a bit on that here. Well, I have to.
yeah.
Right? I mean, not for myself. I don't really, like I said, but I definitely do for people here. because I
Yeah.
don't live in, sounds like you've done a good job there.
Well, that's the part. See, now imagine you have this card number 17. You don't give up on it until it is made known to you.
Yeah. So whatever, but I have had to imagine what I felt the known is, or is it, it's God's knowing, right?
Yeah. So what I started with the people around me with the masking, it was really bad in the beginning, is I said, God's man is not deceived. God's man is not tricked in error. God's man knows the truth and stands up for the truth. See, I kept thinking that over and over as I walked through the valley of the shadow of death. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Shadow,
Okay.
rarefaction, death is carnal mind. So as I walked into the carnal mind's pulpit of Satan, of illusion, of terror, of fear, I brought the light of truth with me. And I refused to let it go. Every day I just knew that, and I knew that, and I knew that. And before you know it, that light was spreading throughout all, you see, to the point where the sheriffs decided they're not going to enforce any of it. And they told everybody publicly. Once they said it, I'm like, they're the ones that back the Constitution. They're the only ones that could enforce it. So now there's nothing here. There's only good.
So as you were doing that, God was giving you those words. Would you feel, was that, because I was feeling sometimes like I was just saying God was good. I mean, God is all in all, and God is love. God is all in all, and God is love.
Yep.
And I know God, you're going to tell is, what else does God know to be true? And
that's right.
Waiting for that answer.
Yep.
Is that pretty much what? Okay, so
the PTT,
I would just have to do the same thing. I would just be, walking around and whatever to, because I do believe, that I can change that environment. So that's what I'm going to start.
Yes.
Working.
Well, that's right, because there is remove persons, circumstances, and good and bad, and qualities. All qualities belong to God. So if you start removing those things from your thought, then what's left?
Wow. Okay.
God's man is the only man that was ever created, and the only qualities that man could possess belong entirely and wholly to God, and those qualities are good.
I'd end up with a bunch of people all blissed out, hopefully, right?
You would definitely you would change the environment around you like a nuclear bomb going off. Like you literally would just implode illusion, like sucking it into a vortex of nothingness where it's just gone.
Unbelievable.
One with God is a majority.
I know I took those words to heart. I mean, obviously, when I just all of this, and like I said, sometimes there's so many little things you see along your path, like little things that it would be thousands of little things that I could say that I knew this is the phenomenal plane, like, you know what I mean? Like, this is definitely on a spiritual plane, or from every little thing. It's bizarre. So I definitely think that's what I'm going to work. God's going to keep walking around town, right?
Exactly.
Driving
and
around.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to take on, similar to what Mary Baker Eddy used to do. She used to take on clients and, do the Christian prayer treatments, right?
Okay, I haven't got that far. I mean, I got her book, but that's what I wanted to know. Did she service like congregations, or was she servicing more just patients, like individual patients? So I hadn't. That's interesting.
Well, she started with people on her own when she had the discovery, and then she built a ministry all around it. Well, so what I'm doing differently is I actually found someone who championed that work and took it to a really extreme level. And they said that, that religion itself sort of moved into the realm of everybody trying to admit evil and then overcome it with truth, which is also an illusion. See, you don't. So when I would take somebody on, I would just say, give me the numbers and I'll do the prayer. I don't need to talk to you. You see, because if I know what to think about that you've just given me from flow state, I already know how to correct my thought. You don't have to tell me what the problem is, because there is no problem. I just know which truth I need to hold for you so that we can be in agreement with that And that can do all of the work by itself, because the only thing is the truth. There is no problem. See, we don't need to talk about problems. We don't need to regurgitate that and create more of it into our own psyche.
No.
And that's what
So
this
you-
one
so you-
person told me. Yeah.
That's interesting. So basically, yeah, you took that one thought and then you just stuck with that one that you thought at that. So if the person's thought was just a belief in God, could you just use that one? You could almost like just, the person has to believe.
They don't even actually have to believe
To-
anything, because there is no person. All I have to do is
Okay,
correct my
that's right.
thought.
Okay.
See, remove person from it and remove qualities. They can't think on their own. Qualities as a thinking was a quality. There, God can only think. There is no other mind. See, you see how if I remove these things, I'm exposing the carnal mind in the dream for what it is, a liar from the beginning. See, once you see what I'm doing, you'll see where this power is that exposing the lie in all of its emanations is removing persons, conditions, thoughts, and qualities.
Yeah. I'm just
Separate it. Yeah.
definitely. Wow. I'll definitely do that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But I'm excited.
So much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So much
Well,
wisdom.
I
But
won't
this is
keep
what
you
I
too
live
long.
for. I live
Yeah.
for wisdom.
Me too.
I do. I definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And see, the only difference between where you are saturated with wealth, okay, and where there seems to be a perception of not having it, is just in your ability to say yes and start putting it out. Because what you put out is what comes back, and wisdom is wealth.
I felt like I had that dream the other night telling me this. Wow.
Yep. During the Great Depression,
Oh my gosh.
the original core group of all Mary Baker Eddy and all of her core students during the Great Depression had turned down and refused all funding from all outside sources, because they never experienced any lack whatsoever, because their consciousness would not allow it. They've gone through contagions. They've gone through all these things with experiencing none of them, symptoms, none of them. The original teachings are the true gospel. See, a lot of people get this misconstrued, and they say, well, if wisdom was wealth, then every preacher would be rich. And I'd say, listen, you've got it all wrong. The preacher that shows up doesn't mean he has any wisdom in him whatsoever. And now you've just put a person with qualities in there saying a preacher has wisdom, when a preacher is a person and wisdom is a principle. There's only God. Correct your thought. You see?
That's why a lot of the preachers, I think, have had such a bad rap, really. I mean, because they have never got to that type of wisdom. I didn't grow up in that, but I definitely now, I have looked at a few since I started really going down the path of wisdom. And I don't know. I find a lot of the older teachings, I think, much more interesting. Like, I think, maybe it's because someone like Mary Baker Eddy or Phineas Park, I don't know, Quimby.
Yeah.
Why didn't that go so more mainstream? Why was it so suppressed,
Because the carnal mind is enmity against truth, and the carnal mind has found its host, you see, in all of those who have turned away from God. And so we don't worry about we don't worry about any of that. We worry about our own thought. See, and then when we fix our thought, then we are the light. And if you pour out, whatever you put out is going to come back. And so if you put this wisdom out and you put this into the value, system, right? It's coming back.
You've said that before. I know. I just gotta. I'm working on some stuff right now, so I'm gonna. Once I get a couple little sketches, I'll definitely throw them your way to get your insight. Because they're definitely, I'll be, crediting you for sure for everything.
Oh, that's great.
That.
Well,
yeah.
I appreciate that. Just make sure that don't ascribe any qualities to me either, because Yeah, I don't have any qualities. I just, God has all
God
qualities.
has qualities, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Same,
Well, okay,
same God you
God's
have.
servant. God's
Yep.
servant taught me.
Yeah, that's where my only abilities have emanated from, is that my willingness as an attitude to relinquish my human desire for what God desires. That's the only thing.
Mhm,
And it's not perfected yet. I still have my moments. I have
mhm.
things that I want to binge out on food sometimes. I want to, do things from my human, but then I realize that, okay, if I seek the kingdom, then it's really going to start getting exciting, because I'm going to get what God's doing, you know?
Mhm. Well, you're gonna
Yeah.
be more revealing, I guess, more or more, just layers and layers. That's what I'm
Yep.
assuming. I'm hoping for,
Yep.
or don't even need. I think it's going to happen as long as you can see. I mean, even you just because I do watch a couple of some of the I guess mystics,
Hmm.
and all of the teachings all come to the same conclusion, which I'm
Hmm.
finding. And I that's what I think is the most fascinating. If you take the core principle, of
Hmm.
yeah, love,
Yeah. You can't go
zero
wrong if
point.
wisdom, if
Mm-mm.
wisdom's in point, as it's on your radar. So, well, I'll stop the recording, Bobby.